Hello, friends. This is Noel King Kahuna again. Uh, I'm making this video after a very long time, and this will be available for my friends on Facebook and YouTube. Today, I want to discuss the sovereign system of this world, how the governments work, and what is the purpose of a government, and how free are we really, Doesn't matter which part of the world we live in. Let me start by saying that the first king in this world ever was of Israel, which was around 620 BCE, and that was around the time of Samuel. And the people of Israel, they wanted a king, and they asked Samuel if he can ask God to give them a king. And God strongly disagreed with the idea for the fact that God was their king and that's what he believed in. And the Bible clearly says that he's a jealous God. And the reason why I'm using the reference from the Bible is because it's one of the oldest books and the religion that exists to this day, and the most practiced religion. And it is a very historical book that can be verified, from different sources. So anyway, the first king of this world was Saul, that was appointed by Samuel, and for obvious reasons, because we are, as humans, we need, or we found the need of having a leader, that can represent us in front of other nations. So there was obviously other kings of that time, that came after Saul, and the world went by on its business after that. And there's another thing I wanted to share with you. They say the presidential system that we have in this world, and this terminology was first used in the United Kingdom. The University of Oxford and Cambridge around 1464, and the founding president of the Royal Society, William Broncker, in 1660. This usage survives today in the title of such offices as President of the Board of Trade and Lord President of the Council in the United Kingdom, as well as the President of the Senate, one of the roles constitutionally assigned to the Vice President of the United States. And you would be surprised to know that the first president ever in this world was the American president, George Washington, in 1787. And other presidents came as follows after him, obviously. So actually, it was around 1789 when George Washington became the first president of this world and America as a country. And around that time, we obviously had kings, and dukes, or whatever sovereign power, our respective country may have. Okay, this is just a little history, how this system of governance works around the world. Now my point here is that democracy is an illusion, and the government systems of this world, they will try to tell you and convince you that you are free and we are a democratic nation, and they still don't give you a freedom of speech and the right to bear arms, just like in America and many other countries. They have their own agendas, and that's okay, because every country has their own set of rules. But the problem here is, democracy and the presidential system, or the royalty families, countries such as France, England, Saudi Arabia, and many others that do have kings to this day, they are just leeching off of the commoners' tax money, And do we really need kings and presidents, I think we do, because the way this world has emerged and has progressed, we do need somebody to represent us, in other societies and other civilizations. However, there is a contradiction to the legacy of these kings and presidents. There's a big problem in that, and let me show you why. Let me start by saying that since I live in America and I love this country, and the elections of 2016 are kind of around the corner, and there is a few candidates that we have right now, presidential candidates. And since I'm a pro Republican, I do support Mr. Donald Trump for obvious reasons, because he's a tiger. You know, he can be a very good leader. Since he's a successful businessman, I think he can bring America's economy back to its feet, and his foreign policies and immigration are amazing. However, he's a little cocky, and I think he knows better. And Mr. President, I'm all for you if you become the president, Donald Trump, in 2016. And I'm so not a Democrat, and I disagree with a lot of things that they do, such as the Iran nuclear deal that they did, and same-sex marriage, because they're anti-biblical. Not that I'm a very good Christian, but I still carry some values, from Christian religion. The point here is, Mr. Donald Trump, he always emphasizes that he believes in bringing America back to its lost glory, and make America great again. And I love that. I wish that was possible for America or any other country. But the problem here is, it's not about a presidential system or a royal system, that this world has. This world is facing bigger problems, my friend. And let me show you how. It doesn't matter which country you live in and which president you have, any kind of leadership is going to be corrupt. First of all, since this world needed a leader in the time of Samson, before Jesus, way before Jesus, and this world wanted a leader, and it came up with a king. And the kings of this world, I believe they're the only ones, that have some kind of credibility, and they can be the only loyal leader to your nation, because they go through legacies from one generation to the other. And the presidential system is just ridiculous. The reason why, first of all, in the presidential system, there is no legacy that a country carries. It changes from one family to the other, from the Kennedys to the Obamas or anybody else, the Bushes. So the point here is, if the legacy remains in one family, that is the only time, a country or a nation can be great. I'm not against the presidential system in this world, but this is what this world has become. Having said that, I strongly believe that if this world had a sovereign system, as kings, as they say, we have 270 plus countries in this world, and every country, if they had a king instead of a president, this world would be, I wouldn't say a better place, but different. I don't know how different it would be, but at least it would have better values and traditions that follow through generations, and you would have better regulations in every country. The reason why, when there is a presidential system, there is more democracy and human rights step in, and a lot of other organizations that want to change the constitution, and they want to come up with liberal acts, and a lot of amendments, and they want to migrate from not migrate, I would rather say bring about changes in our society. There was once a time in America when blacks needed rights, and they're humans, so humans do need rights. They're not animals. So a human freedom is what I believe in. But then gays wanted rights. Okay, so America and many other countries are giving gay people rights too. And I believe 10 years from now, incest couples will need some rights too. Because, if they want to enjoy and practice their lifestyle, who can stop them? Because open the if you open the can of worms, there's other problems that basically carry along or tend to produce, because we humans, when we are granted too much liberty, that is when uh, I would say a devastation of any society begins, because God wanted boundaries for humans, and when we came up with theories of being liberal and be independent and do as we please, so we had presidents, so they fought for different rights, and human sexuality is a big problem of the society, of any society, for humans. And homosexuals, they have their rights, and later on incest couples will have their rights, and 50 years from that time, uh, rapists will want their rights, and people that want to marry little kids, they will want their rights, and this world will have to. They will have to get on their knees, and submit to those ideologies, because, like I said, if you open the can of worms, this world is a paradox. So you just can't escape, and it's very complex. So it may take some time. All the vices of the society, will be unleashed, and this world will see the worst. And a lot of times we say that there's a lot of sin in America or other Western countries, or any country for that matter. I really don't think so. I think sin was always there, you know, even in the time of Bible, because around the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, the sin was so bad that God did to the city what He did, and the only difference is in some cultures, some things are basically swept under the rug, and other things are basically done openly, because Western people are so bold, they want to show off their absurdities, and how obscene they can become. And I'm not against Western societies, I myself live in a American culture. And anyway, the point is that the presidential system in this world will bring about a lot of devastations, to the human mind. And as Napoleon Bonaparte used to say, give me good mothers and I will give you great nations. So, do you really think that we bring forth good mothers that can bear good seed, and bring about good nations? And broken homes, single parent homes? What kind of society do you expect? But just imagine if this world still had kings, they obviously had strict rules, and there was minimum level of democracy that any nation had. Not saying that was good, but the society was under control. So when the liberals step in and everybody wants their rights, the world becomes what it is today. And having said that, let me emphasize on something else. God never wants any leader. He never wanted a leader for this world. The reason why, because the Bible says, as I mentioned earlier, that God is a jealous God, and He doesn't want to share His legacy. Okay? What are we talking about here? Legacy. What's a legacy? Legacy is something, a form of honor and values, and something that you pass on from one generation to another. It can be wealth, power, recognition, and many other things. So God never intended this world to have a king, and they had king, and now they have president. So I wonder what we will have 1,000 years from today if this world still exists. I'm not anti-Christian, but I want to share a few things with you. That since I said that God never intended for the man to have kings or presidents, global democracy is a sham. Okay, doesn't matter how great a leadership is, how great a country is, there still will be corruption. Okay, and kings and presidents will always harm our future. And societies. History is a beautiful thing. It records our failures and our accomplishment and our pursuit over the course of time in terms of years, eras, and life itself. Our life actually is dependent upon history. That is the reason why the modern societies like to preserve history in the form of art, artifacts, ancient writings, languages, and many other things. And life, if we talk about life is basically an episode of events occurring in a pattern preconceived by the creator, obviously, because he knows how it's going to go down. I really feel sorry, for this world, that what it is coming down to and what's going to happen in the years to come. And as I was talking earlier, I know I'm going slow, but this is how it's going to be if you want to follow along. But you may learn something new from this. The point here is, it doesn't matter if a culture has a president or a king, we still can't accomplish a lot, okay? I was talking to my brother a few days ago, and we were talking about the history of this world and how much we have accomplished. And he was telling me his observation, and that is that in the ancient times, in the time of pharaohs, because he was very powerful in his time as a king, and there were different pharaohs. In the time of Ramesses, Egypt was Egypt's economy was thriving, like crazy, and it did pursue a lot, in terms of technology of that time, and power and wealth, and that was amazing. But what happened as a result? I mean, he couldn't stand in front of God, and when Moses was trying to draw his people out of Egypt to Canaan, basically Ramesses' legacy was no more. So not many people can control power, and they always say if you want to see somebody's true colors, give them power and wealth, and that's how you see some individuals' true colors, or for how they would respond to uh, humanity or human ethics. I was talking to my brother, how science has progressed over the years, and he was mentioning that this world has progressed in the last about 500 years, and over the last 100 years, it has progressed a whole lot, which it had not, before that. Because if you see in the time of Egypt, they obviously had invented wheel and the technology of fulcrum, so they were doing really well, but they did better later on, about 500 years ago, when there was a lot of scientists that emerged, and humanity came across electricity and steam engines and airplanes. But sometimes I realize, humanity hasn't advanced, as much as I thought it should, like a few days ago I was watching CNN, and they were talking about this movie Back to the Future, and there's a lot going on, lot of talking, and a lot of people that are into movies, and I watched it myself, Back to the Future, you know, all the parts of the movie, and it talks about 2015, October 21st, and we were comparing differences, I mean, or how advanced this world is today. And I'm sorry to say that we're not to the bar, we haven't raised the bar of humanity or technology or anything of that nature, in a span of 25 to 30 years. And it's a shame. The point here is we are talking about genetic decoding and tissue development and a lot of other medical sciences, the advancement that it has, and robotics. And if you talk about astrophysics or uh, interstellar science, we haven't progressed much. It takes about 7 months to go to Mars in a shuttle, I mean, no human has ever landed on Mars. And this is a part of our solar system. Since we have 9 planets, I mean, we are not able to explore physically our 9 planets. So, yes, we talk about galaxies and nebulas and black holes and other multiverses. But the problem here is how much have we really progressed over the years? I don't think much because we still have theories, as Newton or Einstein, for that matter, had theories about science, theory of relativity and quantum physics and many other things. So we have not gone where I expected this world to be, because the Greek scholars and Athenians, and a lot of Egyptians, they were really advanced in astrology and mathematics of that time, and it's been a very long time, since those people passed away, and we have the modern science, and we are not able, we may be able to explore through a telescope, but we haven't gone even one light year away. So, I mean, if this is progress, then I'm ashamed of our progress, I'm sorry to say. And there's another thing that I wanted to share with you guys, that the Bible talks about Babylon, okay? And as we know that Babylon was demolished, and what happened as a result, there was different languages created for this world, okay? And the modern languages that we speak are a direct result of that confusion that took place around the time of Babylon, when they were trying to build or erect a building that would reach heaven, and that obviously wasn't possible, and God was mad, and you know what happened, and I think in today's day and age, this entire world is a Babylon right now. I'm not talking about sin, I'm not talking or teaching religion here, or humanity, the good and the bad deeds that humans have, I'm just trying to put an emphasis, what this world has become, what this world needs, and how much we have progressed over the years. And I'm really sorry to say that the current world system, the current world order is the form of Babylon. The reason why, because a lot of well-developed countries have their shuttles in space, okay? And they have their space shuttles and space stations, like Russia, and China is doing really good, and India is coming along, and that's great. But at the same time, the way God sees this world is becoming Babylon, because everybody is trying to reach realms, that are restricted. And having said that, I do believe that this world probably has aliens, and I'm not talking about aliens that we see in movies with bigger heads, and with funny languages. They may be more advanced than us, or they can be primitive. We just don't know that yet. And if this world has planets that have life forms or the existence of water, because water primarily is required for human existence, in order to survive, and oxygen. If any world surface or planetary system has the existence of oxygen and water, then life may be possible. Or maybe those creatures don't need oxygen to breathe or food to survive. Maybe they don't even go to work 8 in the morning, they don't pull double shifts or anything, they progress differently. We just don't know that yet. And as a friend of mine always says, that the absence of reality or facts is not the absence of reality. So just because we haven't seen it or seen anything doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So I do believe that there may be other forms of life that do exist, in our universe, in our solar system, or maybe beyond in the stellar system that we have, or beyond. That can be interstellar, in the multiverses, because this is not the only universe that we have. And there's another idea I wanted to bring up, that this world, they say we have about 50 billion stars, okay, in only our galaxy, okay, and we have not been able to explore our galaxy. And the stars that we have in our celestial system, they can be about 50 million, or I don't know, 5 million light years away, Okay, the ones that of you that don't know about the light years, let me tell you what a light year is. If you know the speed of light, which is 9.8 into, hang on, let me be correct here, Well, let's see here. Okay, I have Google open in front of me, and it says it takes light from moon to earth, it takes about 1.3 seconds to travel, and from sun to earth about 8.3 minutes. Okay, you see, sun is so huge, and it still takes it 8.3 minutes, and 1 light year is 1.0 year, which is equivalent to let me see here, 1,086,000 miles per second. Okay, so the amount of time it requires for light to travel to earth, or the distance, measured as a result, is about 186,000 miles per second. Okay, so that's how far 1 light year is. Okay, so now you can imagine if a star is about 50 light years away, or more, or a million, or whatever that number is, that's how far that star is. So that's really far. Okay, and there's theories about warp drive and wormholes, that you can basically push the barriers of time and space. And yes, that is possible, but we don't know yet if that is physically possible as well. And I hope it was, because it's been a long time since this world has been come into existence, and I do expect science to come up with ideas to time travel, and many of you, especially Christian friends of mine, they think I'm stupid. I watch too many sci-fi movies. But just because we, okay, you see here, I'm not talking about you, us. So us Christians, just because we are Christians, we don't need to be dumb, okay, and talk like idiots, okay. So let me tell you, God made man and man made science, okay, over the principles that we observed that already existed in the form of nature. God did not create science, man did, okay, and that is the reason why we always have to make changes. God doesn't have to make changes. That is the reason why he did not create science. Us men did. And that is the reason why science is not stable. We have different variations and different results for different events and things that come into existence. Uh, the point here is the science has not progressed too much. And if we are not able to travel a light year away, then what are the possibilities of traveling into other dimensions or experience fifth dimension? Okay, and yes, I do watch some science fiction movies, the good ones like Interstellar, and I recently watched Martian and a few others, in the past. And I think the work of science is remarkable, but we need smarter people. And let me emphasize another thing here. There's a lot of geniuses in this world, and I'm not a genius at all, okay? These are just mere theories that I have, okay? And a lot of friends tell me that I'm an idiot, by posting such videos about science when I don't have the proofs and evidence about the things that I talk about. And let me tell you, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a theorian, okay? And theorians usually have theories, that they come up with, and it's the duty of scientists or intellects to come up with ideas presented by theorians or engineers or whatever may be, and work on those theories and see what is possible and what's not, okay? And I do believe that I have a smart brain, and as a result I conceive these things. And a lot of people in my acquaintance that have masters and PhDs, they just go and pull 9 to 5 shifts, and some are doctors and other are nurses, and that's all they're good for. And that's not my arrogance talking. Believe me, I talk in utter humility, okay? I was not even able to finish college or anything, okay? And you don't have to be a college grad to be smart, okay? Or be able to think. To me, these are the basics of human existence. And I just happen to conceive these ideas, and share it with you, okay? And for not 1 minute, I'm ashamed to share anything that I post on Facebook or YouTube, and I just want to share these ideas, what I think about human existence and the things that are possible to bring a difference, okay? My motive here is to bring together or accumulate smart people, not the geniuses, because I just can't stand geniuses, because they have too much arrogance and they just think they're something else and nobody is good enough for them. And the Bible clearly says that God chose the idiots of this world, basically not too smart people, okay? And we need great people, not the geniuses, because geniuses are just good for themselves, Anyway, the point here is that if you're not able to push the barrier, or push the limits of human existence, and are able to explore what's beyond our solar system and in our celestial system, then how credible is our science? I mean, if we give you proofs that there is stars, 50 million light years away, I mean, is that good enough? Are you happy with that? Or you really want to go there and see if it is really there? Or it's just not a prism effect going on, that you see something that is in some other dimension, and you just see as a result of a reflection, because we don't know what exists, what kind of particles, exist that we haven't discovered yet. We only know the periodic table, and if there are other elements that do exist, and obviously they do, there are several others that we still haven't found in this world, that we live in. So I'm pretty sure that there is way more than that, in this world that we already know, and there's still a lot to discover about this world. And let me tell you another thing, that if the modern science thinks that it has discovered every force of nature and every element in this world, then you are wrong, my friend. Why do you think this world doesn't have innovation anymore. It's only because we stopped looking. We became couch potatoes, we just like to sit down and do nothing and enjoy our comfort. We need to get out of our comfort zone, just like Newton and many other great scientists came up with different ideas that happen accidentally in the lab, or otherwise, and they became great scientists and made great discoveries. Why don't we have it today? Because we are satisfied with what they invented, and we just want to carry it along. I mean, if Thomas Edison created a light bulb, why are we still using a light bulb? My father was in the aeronautical industry, okay, and we always talked about planes, and Boeing 747, which was the most efficient, and the biggest jet ever created, which was over 35 years ago. And why do we still have the 747 or the Airbus A380? There's only modifications. There's no new innovation, okay? What I'm talking about, if I expect the world to really mesmerize, human imagination. Because if 30 years or 40 years ago we came up with the Boeing 747 or supersonic jets, I believe or I expect this world to come up with teleportation technology where you don't have to sit in a flight for 14 hours, to get from America to Dubai or beyond, Why do we still need to travel that long? That's the waste of time, right? So it means that our scientists haven't discovered anything new. There's no more innovation. The reason why? Because first of all, the science was free before, okay, and you as an individual had the right to think on your own. Now the science is even regulated by governments of this world. You see what I was talking about earlier, the government systems, around this world are a joke. There's a lot of ideas I can share with you, but I will share with you guys, in the near future, but not now. There's a lot of ideas that I do have, to push the human barrier and come about changes that the common man doesn't even think about. If you ask a common man, what do you think about technology? They'd be like, the technology to me is to pay my bills. How soon can I pay my bills, and go to college and get drunk? That's what the modern man thinks about, or watch movies, or we worry about our dinner or livelihood, which isn't wrong, okay, but I do believe that we need to make a difference, okay. Like I said earlier, I'm not a genius, but I do believe that I have a responsibility on my shoulders to bring about a difference, even if it's a little bit, and just imagine, like I was mentioning in one of my videos or vlogs, that we have about 7.5 billion people in this world, and if we have about 10% that do make a contribution to the world of science, because science is a resource, that can basically prevent us from famine and a lot of other problems that this world will see in the days to come. You just keep watching, and if we are able to tamper with the natural resources and the forces of nature, you have no idea how much you can progress. But this world is worried about nuclear bombs and rights of homosexuals and how many women a man can have or how many women a woman can sleep with, and a lot of other problems. So my concern here is that this world needs think tanks, and there's a very famous quote. Somebody said that dreamers are very important for this world because you can't achieve anything until you dream about it, okay. And I do believe that it takes two to tango, so we do need a lot of people to tango with, and we need to form an organization or something from around the world to bring them to one platform where like-minded people can basically bring forth their ideas, and We need to form another group that would be scientists that would conceive their ideas, and see what's possible in the form of and with the available resources that we have, in the form of science. And I was mentioning earlier that there's a lot of other forces that we haven't discovered yet. We haven't discovered gravity, air, okay, that we breathe, fertilization, because we grow food, right? And light, and the sense of touch, and there's a lot of other forces that we have discovered, like wind. Why do cyclones happen? Why do tornadoes happen? Why do we have rain, snow, and many other things? But there's a few things that we still haven't looked upon or did some research on, because like I said, we are very conveniently living our life, and we don't think, God forbid, if this world is underwater or something else happens, a holocaust or something, what are we going to do? What if we can't grow food anymore? Is there a possibility of growing food in space? Can we transport people to 50 light years away, to continue human existence and be able to grow crops, and reproduce in space, I mean, to many of you, I'm pretty sure it may be a joke, but if you think, about it, then I think it will make sense to you. And I do believe that there are other forces that are possible. And there's a few other things that I talk about that what about the available resources that we have? Do you think we can basically mate in space and reproduce humans in space? Have you ever thought about it? I mean, yeah, it sounds funny, but the way we reproduce babies in this world is different because we have gravity and sperm travels in a certain way, but in space, do we have the same principles, or is it any different? We all have seen, in a lot of videos and a lot of movies, how we basically ingest food and water in space, right? And way of excretion is different too than we have in this world. So is it possible we can conceive outside the world's atmosphere and be able to produce babies? Do you think those babies would be intelligent, or they would be dumb, or what? I mean, what is science doing? Seriously. I mean, we are what we are today because of the embargoes that we have from different governments, the things that we can do and the other things we cannot do. So we need to form a group of people, that basically work beyond any world's judiciary, or presidential or any kind of systems, that would try to regulate us, and really push the boundaries of this world. And even if we have to form a society, just like Illuminati or Bones and Skulls, or anything that basically rules this world and makes a decision for us, why don't we form a society, and I'm saying this openly, and why not, if we are able to form a secret society where the intellects of this world basically, even if it's 50 people from around the world, I assure you, we will bring a difference, and there's a lot of other things that I can share with you. And let's say if there was no barriers, and restrictions for research and implementation, how far do you think we could go? I think we just don't know yet. We just need to keep going, push the boundaries, and see what our limit is. Let me tell you one thing. I strongly believe that knowledge brings arrogance, and that brings power which a mortal cannot handle. Okay? knowledge does bring about arrogance, and that is very dangerous to handle. Not everybody can handle the power of fame and following. We can make a lot of changes in this world, and any society. We just need to come up with people and a group of geniuses or smart people, I would rather say, that can basically play the part, and we can make a difference for generations that would exist maybe 1,000 years from now. And I was thinking once, the Bible says the laws of the Bible basically applies on this world. So what if we take about 1 billion people out of this world? So if we live in a different space, does the laws of the Bible apply on us or not? Because the laws of the Bible that are made for humans only apply for humans on earth. Because Jesus came on earth, Jesus did not came on Mars, mind you, okay? So if we start living on Mars or on other, or maybe a different star or other galaxy, what are the chances that the law of Bible and law of science applies on us, Maybe there's a different way of life that, I wouldn't say people or somebody that lives there, I'm pretty sure that different laws apply to us, So are we ready for that? Do we have people, that can bring forth changes as such, come up with a different science, or I'd rather say that add something to the modern science that we have, because our modern science is good for nothing. We still haven't discovered potential cure for cancers, of some kinds, and AIDS and few other diseases, and I think I'm sorry to hear that, because I think about genetic decoding and a system that would basically prevent for any human to get sick in the first place. Yes, I do agree there's an abnormality because a human has to get sick to be normal, but what if we come up with some kind of science, that basically prevents that from happening in the first place? Superhumans, But the problem is, wherever there is more than one brain, there will always be problems. Because when two smart people, you bring them in a room and they will kill each other, believe me. And if you bring more than two people, now there's a voting system going on. They want to vote who's the leader here, or that third person. And if there's the fourth and the 10th, then you just imagine. Then they want a leader, and then they want a vice president, and then the list goes on. So, do you think, is there a system, that is so invulnerable where everybody lives in peace? Yes, I do think that's possible. We just have to tamper with the laws of physics, and laws of this world in order to bring about such changes. And for that, we don't have to live under a system of government. You make your own set of rules. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm logging out. You guys write your comments, if you like something, or if you want to add to what I said, or you didn't like what I had to say. I would still like to hear whatever your opinions may be. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if I wasted your time, Yes, I know this video is about 50 minutes long. I apologize, but I wanted to get this out of my system, and I wanted to share what I think, and I wanted to get my point across to the people, that really think, that we need to invest in the modern science, and to this world, and we may be able to progress beyond this world, and start a new life system. How that is possible, it's for you to think, my friend. Goodbye for now. Take care. Sayonara.